Blinded by the illusion of a new romance, she abandoned her loyal husband, believing she had made the right choice. But what started as a dream soon turned into an inescapable nightmare, and when regret consumed her, it was already too late to turn back. The relentless Arizona sun beat down on the shimmering asphalt of downtown Phoenix, creating a mirage that seemed to melt the city's skyline. In the heart of this urban desert, Gordon Matthews stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the glittering diamond ring in the jewelry store window. The price tag made him wince, but the thought of Ashley's face lighting up when he presented it to her on their upcoming 15th anniversary pushed any hesitation from his mind. "Anything catch your eye, sir?" The jovial voice of the store owner broke Gordon's reverie. Gordon smiled, his weathered face crinkling at the corners. "That one," he pointed. "It's perfect." As the transaction was completed, Gordon couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. 15 years of hard work, dedication, and unwavering love had led to this moment. He tucked the small velvet box into his jacket pocket, patting it gently as if to reassure himself of its presence. The drive home through the familiar streets of their Arcadia neighborhood was a blur of anticipation. Gordon's mind wandered to the day he first met Ashley. They were both fresh out of Arizona State University, full of dreams and ambition. Ashley, with her vibrant laugh and infectious energy, had captured his heart instantly. From that moment on, Gordon had dedicated himself to being the man she deserved. As he pulled into the driveway of their modest ranch-style home, Gordon noticed Ashley's car was already there. A frown creased his brow. She usually worked late on Thursdays. Shrugging off the anomaly, he made his way to the front door, the weight of the ring box a constant reminder of the surprise that awaited. "Ash!" Gordon called out as he entered, the cool air conditioning a welcome respite from the oppressive heat outside. "You're home early." The house remained silent. Gordon moved through the living room, noting the half-empty glass of wine on the coffee table. Ashley rarely drank alone. He found her in their bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, her back to the door. Her shoulders were hunched, tension evident in every line of her body. "Hey, sweetheart," Gordon said softly, concern coloring his voice. "Everything okay?" Ashley turned, and Gordon's heart clenched at the sight of her red-rimmed eyes. She attempted a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hi, Gord. I didn't hear you come in." Gordon crossed the room, sitting beside her on the bed. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away, standing abruptly. "I need some air," Ashley muttered, moving towards the French doors that led to their backyard. Gordon followed, worry gnawing at his insides. As they stepped onto the patio, the last rays of the setting sun painted the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. The beauty was lost on both of them. "Talk to me, Ash," Gordon pleaded. "What's going on?" Ashley hugged herself, her gaze fixed on the distance. "Do you ever feel like we're just going through the motions? Like life is passing us by while we're stuck in this routine?" The words hit Gordon like a physical blow. "What do you mean? I thought we were happy." Ashley turned to face him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I am. It's just, don't you ever want more? Adventure, passion, something different?" Gordon felt as if the ground was shifting beneath his feet. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing against the velvet box. "I thought we had all that. Our life together, our home, our future. Isn't that an adventure?" Ashley's laugh was hollow, devoid of its usual warmth. "An adventure? Gordon, we haven't left Phoenix in years. We go to work, we come home, we watch TV. When was the last time we did something spontaneous, something exciting?" Gordon's mind raced, trying to recall a moment that would prove Ashley wrong. But as he searched his memories, he realized with a sinking feeling that their life had indeed fallen into a comfortable, if predictable, pattern. "We can change that," Gordon said, desperation creeping into his voice. "We can travel, try new things. Whatever you want, Ash, just tell me." Ashley's expression softened, but the sadness in her eyes remained. "It's not about doing things, Gordon. It's about feeling things. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Passionate? Like your heart might burst from your chest?" Gordon wanted to say he felt that way every time he looked at her, every morning he woke up beside her, but the words stuck in his throat, sensing that wasn't the answer Ashley was looking for. As silence fell between them, the distant sound of laughter drifted over the fence from their neighbor's yard. The contrast between that carefree sound and the heavy atmosphere surrounding Gordon and Ashley was stark. "I got a job offer," Ashley said suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. Gordon's head snapped up. "What? Where?" "New York," Ashley replied, not meeting his gaze. "It's a fantastic opportunity, a chance to work with some of the top minds in my field." Gordon felt as if he'd been doused in ice water. "New York? But our life is here, our home, our friends." Ashley finally looked at him, her eyes pleading. "That's my point, Gordon. Our life has always been here. Maybe it's time for a change, a big one." The weight of the ring box in Gordon's pocket seemed to increase tenfold. This wasn't how he had imagined this evening unfolding. He had planned a quiet dinner, a heartfelt speech about their years together, and then the presentation of the ring, a symbol of his eternal devotion and a promise of many more years to come. Instead, he found himself grappling with the realization that while he had been contentedly building their life together, Ashley had been silently yearning for something more. "When did you apply for this job?" Gordon asked, trying to keep the accusation out of his voice. Ashley had the grace to look guilty. "A few months ago, I didn't think I'd actually get it. It was more of a what-if thing." Gordon nodded slowly, processing the information. "And now?" Now I don't know," Ashley admitted. "Part of me wants to take it, to see what life could be like in a new city with new challenges. But another part..." She trailed off, leaving the sentence hanging in the air between them. Gordon wanted to finish it for her, to say that another part of her wanted to stay here with him, in the life they had built together, but he wasn't sure if that was true anymore. As the last light faded from the sky, casting long shadows across their backyard, Gordon felt as if shadows were creeping into their relationship as well. The solid foundation he thought they had built over 15 years suddenly seemed shaky, uncertain. "We can make changes here," Gordon said, grasping at straws. "We don't have to go to New York for you to feel alive, Ash. We can travel, take classes, meet new people, whatever you need." Ashley's smile was tinged with sadness. "It's not about the place, Gordon. It's about feeling stuck. Don't you ever wonder what else is out there, what other experiences we could be having?" Gordon wanted to say no, that he was perfectly content with their life together, but he knew that wasn't entirely true. There had been moments, fleeting and quickly suppressed, when he had wondered about the road not taken, the career he didn't pursue, the places he hadn't visited. But he had always pushed those thoughts aside, believing that what he had with Ashley was worth more than any what-ifs. As they stood there in the gathering darkness, the chirping of cicadas filling the silence between them, Gordon felt a chasm opening up, one he wasn't sure how to bridge. "What do you want me to say, Ash?" Gordon finally asked, his voice rough with emotion. "That I'll pack up our life here and move across the country, leave everything we've built behind." Ashley shook her head, frustration evident in her features. "I want you to say that you understand, that you feel it too, this restlessness, this need for something more." Gordon opened his mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come. How could he explain that for him? Something more had always been right here, that every day with Ashley had felt like an adventure, a blessing. Before he could formulate a response, the shrill ring of Ashley's phone cut through the tense atmosphere. She glanced at the screen, a flicker of something had passing across her face before she declined the call. "Who was that?" Gordon asked, unable to keep the suspicion from his voice. "No one," Ashley said quickly. Too quickly. "Just work." But Gordon had seen the name on the screen. Gavin. A name he didn't recognize, one Ashley had never mentioned before. As if sensing his thoughts, Ashley's posture stiffened. "It's a colleague," she explained, her tone defensive. "He's been helping me prepare for the interview in New York." Gordon felt as if the ground was shifting beneath his feet. Not only had Ashley been considering a move across the country, but she had been discussing it with someone else. Someone who wasn't him. "How long have you been talking to this colleague?" Gordon asked, trying to keep his voice level. Ashley's hesitation spoke volumes. "A few weeks," she finally admitted. "He's been a great support, Gordon. He understands what it's like to want more from life." The implication hung heavy in the air between them. Gordon understood what Ashley was really saying. Gavin understood her in a way that Gordon didn't, or couldn't. As the reality of the situation sank in, Gordon felt a maelstrom of emotions swirling within him. Anger at Ashley for keeping secrets, fear of losing the life they had built together, and a deep, aching sadness at the realization that perhaps he hadn't known his wife as well as he thought he did. I think I need some time to process all this, Gordon said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm going to take a walk. Ashley reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. Gordon, please, let's talk about this. But Gordon was already moving, his feet carrying him towards the gate that led to the front yard. He needed space, air, time to think. As he stepped out onto the sidewalk, the warm night air enveloping him, Gordon's hand brushed against the velvet box in his pocket. The anniversary gift that now seemed like a relic from another time, another life. He began to walk, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The carefully constructed future he had envisioned for himself and Ashley was crumbling around him, and he had no idea how to stop it. As Gordon disappeared down the street, Ashley stood alone in their backyard, the weight of unspoken words and unfulfilled desires hanging heavy in the air. Her phone buzzed again, another call from Gavin. This time, after a moment's hesitation, she answered. Hey, she said softly, her voice carrying a mix of guilt and anticipation. Yeah, I can talk now. As Ashley's hushed conversation drifted through the open French doors, the diamond ring sat forgotten in Gordon's pocket, its brilliance dulled by the shadows of an uncertain future. The stage was set for a story of love, betrayal, and the consequences of chasing the illusion of something more. In the coming days, Gordon and Ashley would be forced to confront the true nature of their relationship, their individual desires, and the price of pursuing passion at the expense of loyalty. As the night deepened in Phoenix, neither Gordon nor Ashley could have imagined the tumultuous journey that lay ahead, a path that would test the limits of their love, challenge their understanding of happiness, and ultimately lead them to question everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. The wheels of change had been set in motion, and there was no going back. The only question that remained was, how far would they go in pursuit of their desires, and what would be left of their once solid relationship when the dust finally settled? The Phoenix sun rose relentlessly, casting long shadows across the city as it climbed higher in the sky. In the Matthews household, those shadows seemed to stretch further, darker, seeping into the cracks of a once solid marriage. Ashley woke early, the bed beside her empty and cold. Gordon hadn't returned from his walk until the early hours of the morning, slipping silently into the guest room without a word. The weight of their conversation from the previous night hung heavy in the air, unresolved tensions crackling like static electricity. As she went through her morning routine, Ashley's mind wandered to Gavin. Their late-night phone conversation replayed in her head, his words igniting a spark of excitement she hadn't felt in years. You deserve more, Ash, he had said, his voice low and persuasive. You're too vibrant, too full of life to be stuck in a rut. New York could be your chance to really shine. She shook her head, trying to dispel the lingering echo of his words. But as she caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror, Ashley couldn't help but wonder, was Gavin right? Was she really too vibrant for the life she had built with Gordon? Downstairs, she found Gordon at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee. The lines around his eyes seemed deeper this morning, etched with worry and lack of sleep. Morning, Ashley said softly, her voice tentative. Gordon looked up, his expression unreadable. Morning, he replied, his tone flat. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken words and growing tension. Ashley busied herself making toast, the mundane act a welcome distraction from the emotional turmoil swirling within her. I have to go into the office today, Gordon said suddenly, breaking the silence. Big project deadline. Ashley nodded, a mixture of relief and disappointment washing over her. Part of her had hoped they would talk, try to work through the issues that had surfaced. Another part was grateful for the reprieve, the chance to gather her thoughts. Okay, she replied. I have some errands to run. Maybe we can talk tonight. Gordon's eyes met hers, a flicker of hope mixed with apprehension. Yeah, maybe, he said, his voice soft. He stood rinsing his coffee cup in the sink. As he passed Ashley on his way out, he hesitated for a moment, as if wanting to say something more. But the moment passed, and he left without another word. As the front door closed behind Gordon, Ashley let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. The house suddenly felt too big, too quiet. She needed to get out, to clear her head. An hour later, Ashley found herself wandering through the desert botanical garden. The carefully cultivated oasis in the heart of the Sonoran Desert had always been a source of peace for her. Today, however, the stark beauty of the cacti and desert flowers only served to highlight the turbulence in her heart. As she walked along the winding paths, her phone buzzed with a text from Gavin. "Coffee at Lux Central. I have some exciting news about NY." Ashley's heart raced. She knew she should decline, that meeting Gavin would only complicate things further. But the promise of excitement, of something new, was too tempting to resist. "See you in 20, she texted back, already heading towards the exit. Lux Central was bustling when Ashley arrived, the trendy coffee shop filled with the chatter of patrons and the hiss of espresso machines. Gavin waved her over to a small table near the window, his smile bright and inviting. "Ash, you look amazing," he said as she sat down, his eyes appreciative. Ashley felt a flush creep up her neck. "Thanks," she mumbled, suddenly self-conscious. "So, what's this exciting news?" Gavin leaned in, his voice low and conspiratorial. "I spoke with the hiring manager in New York. They're really impressed with your portfolio. They want to fly you out for an in-person interview next week." Ashley's breath caught in her throat. "Next week? That's so soon." "That's perfect timing," Gavin pressed. "You said yourself you needed a change. This could be it, Ash, your chance to break free, to really live." As Gavin spoke, painting vivid pictures of life in New York, the energy, the opportunities, the endless possibilities, Ashley felt a familiar stirring of excitement, but mixed with it was a deep, gnawing guilt. Thoughts of Gordon, of their life together, kept intruding. "I don't know, Gavin," she said, her voice uncertain. "It's a big decision. I can't just up and leave everything behind." Gavin reached across the table, his hand covering hers. The touch sent a jolt through Ashley, a mix of excitement and unease. "You're not leaving everything behind," he said softly. "You're moving towards something greater, something that could make you truly happy." As Ashley looked into Gavin's eyes, she saw a reflection of the woman she used to be, ambitious, fearless, ready to take on the world. It was intoxicating. But as she opened her mouth to respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Gordon. "Thinking of you, can we talk tonight, really talk?" Reality came crashing back. Ashley pulled her hand away from Gavin's, suddenly acutely aware of where she was and what she was doing. I need some time to think," she said, standing abruptly. "I'll let you know about the interview." Gavin's expression flickered with disappointment, but he quickly masked it with an understanding smile. "Of course. Take all the time you need. But remember, opportunities like this don't come along every day." As Ashley left the coffee shop, her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The excitement of potential new beginnings warred with the comfort of the familiar. The allure of Gavin's attention clashed with the steady, dependable love of Gordon. She found herself driving aimlessly through the streets of Phoenix, the city she had called home for so long. Past the towering skyscrapers of downtown, through the quirky shops of Roosevelt Row, alongside the sprawling campus of ASU. Each landmark held memories, reminders of the life she and Gordon had built together. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Ashley found herself at Papago Park. She parked her car and made her way to the iconic hole-in-the-rock formation, a natural aperture in the red sandstone butte that offered a breathtaking view of the city. Sitting on the warm rock, watching as the lights of Phoenix began to twinkle in the gathering dusk, Ashley felt the full weight of the decision before her. Stay in the comfort of the known, with a man who loved her deeply but perhaps couldn't fulfill her need for excitement, or leap into the unknown, chasing the thrill of new experiences, but risking everything she had built. As darkness fell over the desert, Ashley made her way home, her heart heavy with indecision. The house was dark when she arrived, but Gordon's car was in the driveway. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. She found Gordon in the living room, sitting in the dark. As she flicked on the light, she saw he was holding something in his hands, a small velvet box. "I was going to give you this on our anniversary," Gordon said softly, his voice rough with emotion. 15 years together. I thought it meant something." Ashley's heart clenched. "Gordon, it does mean something. You mean everything to me." Gordon looked up, his eyes filled with a mixture of love and pain. "Do I? Because it feels like you're slipping away, Ash, and I don't know how to hold on." The raw vulnerability in his voice broke something inside Ashley. She moved to sit beside him on the couch, close but not touching. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant to hurt you. I feel like I'm suffocating sometimes, like there's this whole world out there that we're missing." Gordon nodded slowly. I get it. I do. But Ash, the world is right here too. We can find adventure, excitement, whatever you're looking for. We just need to look for it together. As Gordon spoke, Ashley felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This man who had stood by her side for 15 years, who knew her better than anyone, was willing to change, to grow, to find new adventures, all for her. But even as warmth bloomed in her chest at Gordon's words, a nagging doubt persisted. Was it too late? Had they grown too comfortable, too set in their ways? Could they really recapture the spark that had brought them together in the first place? And then there was Gavin, and New York, and the tantalizing promise of a fresh start. A chance to reinvent herself, to become the woman she had always dreamed of being. Gordon seemed to sense her inner turmoil. He reached out, taking her hand in his. I know you've been talking to someone. Gavin, right? Ashley's breath caught in her throat. She nodded, unable to meet Gordon's eyes. Is there something going on between you two? Gordon's voice was barely above a whisper, as if he was afraid of the answer. No, Ashley said quickly. No, it's not like that. He understands what I'm going through. The desire for something more. Gordon's grip on her hand tightened slightly. And I don't? Ash, I've been by your side for 15 years. I know you better than anyone. If you're not happy, talk to me, let me in. The sincerity in his voice was almost Ashley's undoing. She wanted to throw herself into his arms, to forget about New York and Gavin and all the doubts that had been plaguing her. But the image of Gavin's smile, the excitement in his voice as he talked about New York, kept intruding. The possibility of a new life, a new Ashley, was intoxicating. They want me to fly out for an interview, she blurted out. Next week, in New York. Gordon's face fell, but he quickly composed himself. Oh, he said softly. And do you want to go? Ashley closed her eyes, feeling tears threatening to spill. I don't know, she admitted. Part of me does. Part of me is terrified. I need to know if there's more out there for me, Gordon. I need to know if I'm capable of being more than just this. Gordon was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her hand. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, determined. Then go, he said. Go to New York, have the interview, see what's out there. Ashley's eyes snapped open in surprise. What? Gordon met her gaze, his eyes filled with a mixture of love and resignation. If this is something you need to do, then do it. I love you, Ash. I want you to be happy. If exploring this opportunity will help you figure things out, then I support you. Ashley felt as if the wind had been knocked out of her. She had expected anger, hurt, maybe even an ultimatum, but this selfless support was almost too much to bear. Gordon, she began, but he cut her off with a gentle squeeze of her hand. Just promise me one thing, he said. Promise me you'll come back, even if it's just to talk, to figure things out. Don't make any decisions without talking to me first. Okay? Ashley nodded, tears finally spilling over. I promise, she whispered. As they sat there in the dim light of their living room, the air heavy with unspoken words and uncertain futures, Ashley felt as if she was standing on the edge of a precipice. Behind her was the safety and comfort of her life with Gordon. Ahead, the unknown allure of New York and the person she might become there. The decision loomed before her, inescapable and life-altering. As the night deepened around them, Ashley knew that whatever choice she made would set in motion a chain of events that would change everything. With trembling fingers, she reached for her phone. Gavin's number glowed on the screen, a beacon of possibility. Beside her, Gordon sat in silent support, the weight of 15 years of love and shared history anchoring her to the present. Ashley took a deep breath, her finger hovering over the call button. In that moment, suspended between the familiar and the unknown, between loyalty and desire, between the life she had and the life she imagined, Ashley made her choice. The sound of the call connecting seemed to echo in the quiet room, a harbinger of changes to come. As Ashley raised the phone to her ear, her eyes met Gordon's. In that silent exchange, 1,000 words were spoken, a lifetime of memories acknowledged, and the first tremors of a seismic shift in their relationship began to rumble. Gavin, Ashley said, her voice barely above a whisper, it's me. About that interview in New York. The die was cast. For better or worse, Ashley had taken the first step down a path that would test the limits of her marriage. challenge her understanding of herself, and force her to confront the true meaning of happiness and fulfillment. As Gordon watched his wife of 15 years make plans to explore a life without him, he felt a mix of fear, love, and a steely determination. He had meant what he said. He wanted Ashley to be happy, but he also knew that he wasn't ready to give up on their life together without a fight. The coming weeks would be a crucible, burning away the comfortable routines and unspoken assumptions that had defined their relationship for so long. From the ashes, something new would emerge, but whether it would be a stronger bond or the final dissolution of their marriage remained to be seen. As Ashley's conversation with Gavin continued, the warm Phoenix night seemed to press in around them, the city lights twinkling beyond their windows like distant, unreachable stars. The familiar landscape of their shared life was shifting, transforming into unknown territory. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, temptations, and moments of brutal self-discovery. But for now, in the quiet of their living room, Gordon and Ashley clung to the last vestiges of their life as they knew it, each silently preparing for the storm that was about to break over their once peaceful existence. The stage was set, the players in position. As Ashley hung up the phone, her plans for New York confirmed, she and Gordon exchanged a long look. In that moment, they both understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The real test of their love, their commitment, and their individual desires was about to begin. As they headed to bed, separate rooms, a silent acknowledgement of the growing distance between them, the city of Phoenix hummed with its usual nighttime energy. But for Gordon and Ashley, the world had shifted on its axis. Tomorrow would bring the dawn of a new chapter in their lives, one filled with uncertainty, longing, and the bittersweet pain of growth. The desert night enveloped their home, a silent witness to the unfolding drama, and somewhere in the darkness the seeds of change began to take root, promising a future that neither Gordon nor Ashley could have imagined just days before. The Phoenix sky blazed a brilliant orange as Ashley's plane lifted off from Sky Harbor International Airport. She pressed her forehead against the cool window, watching as the familiar landscape of her home for the past 15 years shrank beneath her. The jagged silhouette of Camelback Mountain faded into the distance, a silent sentinel marking the end of one chapter of her life and the beginning of another. In her hand, she clutched her phone, her last conversation with Gordon replaying in her mind. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Ash," he had said, his voice a mixture of resignation and barely concealed pain. "Just remember that you always have a home here, with me." She'd wanted to say something profound, something that would ease the ache she knew he was feeling. But in the end, all she could manage was a choked, "Thank you," before hurrying through the security checkpoint. Now, as the plane banked east towards New York, Ashley felt a confusing swirl of emotions. Excitement warred with guilt, anticipation with fear. She was leaving behind a life of comfort and security, a man who loved her unconditionally, for the promise of something more. Her phone buzzed with a text from Gavin. "Can't wait to see you. NYC won't know what hit it." Ashley smiled despite herself, a flutter of excitement in her stomach. This was it. Her chance to reinvent herself, to become the woman she had always dreamed of being. As the plane soared over the vast expanse of the American heartland, Ashley closed her eyes, willing herself to focus on the future rather than the past she was leaving behind. Meanwhile, back in Phoenix, Gordon stood in the empty house, the silence deafening. Ashley's absence was palpable, a void that seemed to suck the life out of every room. He wandered aimlessly, touching the little things that spoke of their shared life. Photos on the mantel, her favorite coffee mug in the kitchen, the throw pillow she always hugged while watching TV. The weight of the diamond ring in his pocket seemed to increase with each step. He pulled it out, watching as it caught the light, scattering tiny rainbows across the wall. 15 years of love and commitment, reduced to a glittering bauble that would never find its intended home. Gordon's phone rang, startling him out of his reverie. It was Mike, his best friend since college. "Hey, buddy." Mike's voice was cautious, concerned. "How are you holding up?" Gordon sank onto the couch, suddenly feeling every one of his 40 years. "She's gone, Mike. She actually left." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I'm so sorry, man. Do you want me to come over? We could grab a beer, talk it out." Gordon appreciated the offer, but the thought of company, of having to put on a brave face, was exhausting. "Thanks, but I think I need some time alone to process all this." After hanging up, Gordon found himself in his bedroom. Ashley's side of the closet was half empty, her favorite pieces missing. The sight hit him like a physical blow. This wasn't just a trip, a temporary absence. She had taken enough to start a new life. Collapsing onto the bed, Gordon finally allowed the tears to come. Great, heaving sobs that shook his entire body. He cried for the life they had built together, for the future they had planned, for the love he thought would last forever. As night fell over Phoenix, Gordon's tears finally subsided, leaving him feeling hollow and drained. He stared at the ceiling, wondering how he was supposed to move forward from here. How does one rebuild a life that was so intertwined with another person? The next few weeks passed in a blur for both Ashley and Gordon, their lives diverging in ways neither could have imagined. In New York, Ashley threw herself into her new life with gusto. The interview at the prestigious marketing firm went better than she could have hoped, and she found herself with a job offer that made her head spin. The salary was double what she had been making in Phoenix, and the opportunities for advancement seemed limitless. Gavin was there every step of the way, helping her navigate the bustling city, introducing her to his wide circle of friends, showing her the vibrant nightlife that New York was famous for. Ashley felt as if she had been awakened from a long sleep, every day bringing new experiences and excitement. Their relationship, freed from the constraints of secrecy and guilt, blossomed. Gavin was everything Gordon wasn't: spontaneous, ambitious, always pushing for more. They stayed out late, drinking cocktails at rooftop bars with views that took Ashley's breath away. They attended gallery openings and rubbed shoulders with the city's elite. Ashley found herself swept up in a whirlwind of new experiences, barely having time to catch her breath. One night, as they stumbled back to Gavin's sleek Manhattan apartment, Ashley giggling as she tried to walk in her new designer heels, she caught a glimpse of herself in a store window. She barely recognized the woman staring back at her. Designer dress, perfectly coiffed hair, eyes bright with excitement and just a hint of expensive champagne. "Is this really me?" she wondered aloud, her voice filled with awe and just a touch of disbelief. Gavin wrapped his arms around her from behind, nuzzling her neck. "This is the real you, Ash," he murmured. "The you that was always there, just waiting to be set free." Ashley leaned back into his embrace, letting his words wash over her. This was what she had been looking for, wasn't it? This feeling of being alive, of being seen, of being more. But even as she reveled in her new life, there were moments when doubt crept in. Late at night, when the city's endless energy finally quieted, Ashley would find herself thinking of Gordon, of the hurt in his eyes when she told him she was leaving, of the quiet strength he had shown in letting her go. She pushed these thoughts away, burying them under the excitement of her new job, her new relationship, her new self. But they lingered, like a shadow at the edge of her vision, always there but never quite in focus. Back in Phoenix, Gordon was struggling to adjust to life without Ashley. The house felt too big, too empty. He threw himself into his work, staying late at the office, taking on extra projects. Anything to avoid coming home to the silence that seemed to mock him. His friends tried to help. Mike and his wife Sarah invited him over for dinner regularly, making sure he was eating properly. They gently encouraged him to get out, to try new things, to start rebuilding his life. "You can't put your life on hold forever, Gordon," Sarah said one evening, her voice gentle but firm. "Ashley made her choice. You need to start thinking about what you want for your future." Gordon nodded, knowing she was right, but unsure how to even begin. His entire adult life had been built around his relationship with Ashley. Who was he without her? Slowly, painfully, Gordon began to rediscover himself. He joined a local hiking group, exploring the beautiful desert landscapes that surrounded Phoenix. He signed up for a cooking class, learning to make meals for one that were more exciting than microwave dinners. He even, at Mike's insistence, created a profile on a dating app, though he couldn't bring himself to actually use it. But even as he went through the motions of moving on, Gordon couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The diamond ring still sat in his nightstand drawer, a constant reminder of the future he had lost. As summer turned to fall, the initial excitement of Ashley's new life began to fade, revealing cracks in the glossy facade. The job, while challenging and well-paying, demanded long hours and constant networking. Ashley found herself exhausted, struggling to keep up with the relentless pace of New York's business world. The novelty of the city's nightlife wore thin, replaced by a longing for quiet evenings at home. Gavin, too, began to show a different side. His spontaneity, once thrilling, now seemed reckless. He pushed Ashley to go out even when she was tired, to spend money on expensive dinners and designer clothes even as she worried about her mounting credit card bills. "Live a little, Ash," he would say, dismissing her concerns with a wave of his hand. "You're not in Phoenix anymore. This is the big leagues." But it was more than just lifestyle differences. Ashley began to notice how Gavin's charm, which had once seemed so appealing, extended to everyone around him. She caught him flirting with waitresses, with her co-workers, even with her new friends. When confronted, he laughed it off. "It doesn't mean anything, babe," he'd say, pulling her close. "It's just how things work in this city. You have to be connected, you know." Ashley tried to adapt, to embrace this new way of life, but increasingly she found herself longing for the simplicity of her life in Phoenix, for quiet evenings watching the sunset from their backyard, for the steady, reliable presence of Gordon. One crisp October evening, as Ashley walked home from another late night at the office, her phone buzzed with a text from Gordon. "Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you." Ashley stopped in the middle of the crowded sidewalk, oblivious to the annoyed New Yorkers streaming around her. Gordon's simple message, devoid of recrimination or bitterness, hit her like a punch to the gut. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized how much she missed him, missed the life they had shared. She was about to reply when another text came through, this one from Gavin. "Hey, sexy, cancel whatever boring plans you had tonight. We're hitting the hottest new club in town. Don't keep me waiting." Ashley stared at the two messages, feeling as if she was standing at a crossroads. The excitement and unpredictability of her new life with Gavin on one side, the comfort and deep connection of her old life with Gordon on the other. For the first time since arriving in New York, Ashley allowed herself to really question her decision. Was this really the life she wanted? Or had she been so caught up in the idea of change, of something more, that she had lost sight of what truly mattered? As she stood there, torn between two worlds, a commotion further down the street caught her attention. A crowd had gathered, their excited voices rising above the usual city noise. Curious, Ashley made her way towards the group. Pushing through to the front, she gasped at the sight before her. A man was down on one knee proposing to his girlfriend in the middle of the busy New York street. The woman was crying, nodding enthusiastically as the man slipped a ring on her finger. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Ashley felt as if all the air had been sucked out of her lungs. The scene before her was a stark reminder of what she had left behind, the love, the commitment, the shared dreams. She thought of the diamond ring Gordon had bought for their anniversary, the one she had never seen, the one that was probably still sitting in a drawer back in Phoenix, a silent testament to a future that would never be. In that moment, watching the happy couple embrace as New York swirled around them, Ashley had an epiphany. She had been chasing an illusion, a fantasy of what she thought she wanted. But in doing so, she had left behind something real, something precious. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone and began to type a message to Gordon. But before she could hit send, another text from Gavin flashed across her screen. "Where are you? The car's waiting. Don't make me come find you." Ashley hesitated, her finger hovering over the send button. She was on the verge of making a decision that would alter the course of her life once again. But before she could act, a hand grabbed her arm, spinning her around. "There you are!" Gavin's voice was loud, slightly slurred. He had clearly started the evening's festivities without her. "Come on, we're going to be late." As Gavin pulled her towards a waiting taxi, Ashley felt a sense of panic rising in her chest. This wasn't what she wanted. This wasn't who she wanted to be. "Gavin, wait," she said, pulling her arm free. I can't do this anymore." Gavin turned, his face a mixture of confusion and annoyance. "What are you talking about? It's just a night out, Ash. Loosen up a little." Ashley shook her head, feeling a strange sense of calm settling over her. "No, I mean, all of this. New York, the job, us. It's not me." Gavin's expression hardened. "Is this about him? Your ex?" "Jesus, Ashley. I thought you were over that small-town life." His words, meant to sting, instead crystallized everything for Ashley. She straightened her shoulders, meeting Gavin's gaze head-on. "That small-town life is who I am, Gavin. I tried to be someone else to fit into this world, but it's not me, it never was." Gavin's face twisted in anger. So what, you're just going to throw away everything we've built here? For what? Some boring life in the middle of nowhere? Ashley felt a surge of emotion, not anger, but a deep, overwhelming sense of relief. No, Gavin, I'm not throwing anything away, I'm going home. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Gavin sputtering on the sidewalk. As she made her way back to her apartment, Ashley felt as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. For the first time in months, she knew exactly what she wanted. Back in her small New York apartment, Ashley looked around at the trappings of her new life. Designer clothes she never felt comfortable in, art she didn't understand, mementos of nights out she could barely remember. None of it felt like her. With a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and dialed a familiar number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Ashley's heart pounded in her chest. What if it was too late? What if Gordon had moved on? Just as she was about to hang up, a voice came on the line. Ashley? Gordon's voice was cautious, guarded. Gordon, Ashley breathed, feeling tears spring to her eyes. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Gordon spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. What are you saying, Ash? Ashley took a deep breath, her next words coming straight from her heart. I'm saying, I want to come home. If you'll have me. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Ashley held her breath, her entire future hanging on Gordon's next words. Finally, Gordon spoke, his voice a mixture of caution and hope. Are you sure, Ash? This isn't just homesickness or a bad day? Ashley shook her head even though she knew Gordon couldn't see her. No, it's not. I've had a lot of time to think, to really understand what I want. And what I want is our life, our home, you. She heard Gordon take a shaky breath. Ash, I don't know what to say. You hurt me. Deeply. I know, Ashley said, her voice breaking, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, if you'll let me. I need to know if there's still a chance for us. The silence stretched on, each second feeling like an eternity. Ashley's heart pounded in her chest, the magnitude of this moment weighing heavily upon her. Finally, Gordon spoke, his voice soft but clear. Come home, Ash. We'll figure it out. Ashley let out a sob of relief, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. I love you, Gordon. I never stopped loving you. As she hung up the phone, Ashley felt a sense of peace wash over her. The path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be hurt to heal, trust to rebuild. But for the first time in months, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning, as the sun rose over the New York skyline, Ashley began packing her bags. Her new life, which had once seemed so glamorous and exciting, now felt hollow and superficial. As she folded her clothes and packed away her belongings, she felt as if she was shedding a skin, revealing her true self underneath. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from Gavin, alternating between angry tirades and pleading apologies. Ashley ignored them all. That chapter of her life was closed. As she zipped up her last suitcase, Ashley took one final look around the apartment. The view of the city was breathtaking, the skyline glittering in the morning light. For a moment she felt a pang of doubt. Was she making the right decision? But then she thought of Gordon, of their home in Phoenix, of the life they had built together. The doubt evaporated, replaced by a sense of certainty and purpose. With a deep breath, Ashley picked up her bags and walked out of the apartment, closing the door firmly behind her. As she stepped out onto the busy New York street, she felt lighter, freer than she had in months. Her Uber to the airport arrived, and as she settled into the back seat, Ashley allowed herself to think about the future. She knew it wouldn't be easy. There would be difficult conversations, painful truths to face, and trust to rebuild. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful. The drive to JFK Airport seemed to fly by, the bustling streets of New York blurring into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. As the iconic skyline receded in the rearview mirror, Ashley felt a mix of emotions: nostalgia for the adventure she had experienced, relief at leaving behind the pressures and pretenses, and nervous anticipation for what lay ahead. At the airport, as she waited to board her flight back to Phoenix, Ashley's phone buzzed one last time with a message from Gavin. "You're making a huge mistake. Don't expect me to be here when you realize it." Ashley read the message, a small smile playing on her lips. She typed out a simple reply, "Goodbye, Gavin. I wish you well." With that, she turned off her phone and boarded the plane, ready to face whatever awaited her in Phoenix. Meanwhile, back in Arizona, Gordon was a bundle of nerves. He paced the living room, alternating between excitement and anxiety. Ashley was coming home. The words still felt surreal, like a dream he was afraid to fully believe in case it shattered. Mike's voice echoed in his head from their conversation earlier that morning. "Are you sure about this, man? After everything she put you through?" Gordon had paused before answering, really considering the question. "I love her, Mike. It's not going to be easy, but she's worth fighting for." Now, as the hours ticked by, bringing Ashley closer to Phoenix with each passing minute, Gordon found himself revisiting every moment of their relationship. The good times, the bad times, the quiet moments that had defined their life together. He thought about the diamond ring still sitting in his drawer. Would there ever be a right time to give it to her now? Or was that dream forever tainted by what had happened? As the sun began to set, painting the Arizona sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Gordon's phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. "Just landed. On my way home." Home. The word carried so much weight, so much hope and so much uncertainty. Gordon took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He looked around the house, their house, and realized he had subconsciously been preparing for this moment. The place was spotless. Ashley's favorite flowers were in a vase on the coffee table, and the faint scent of her preferred scented candle lingered in the air. As he heard a car pull up in the driveway, Gordon's heart began to race. This was it, the moment that would define their future. The doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the house like a herald announcing a new chapter in their lives. Gordon walked to the door, his hand hovering over the knob for just a moment before he opened it, and there she was. Ashley stood on the porch, looking both familiar and somehow changed. Her eyes, brimming with unshed tears, met his, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. "Hi," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," Gordon replied, his own voice thick with emotion. They stood there on the threshold between their past and their future, both aware of the weight of this moment. Then, almost in unison, they moved towards each other, falling into an embrace that spoke volumes more than words ever could. As Gordon held Ashley, feeling her trembling slightly in his arms, he knew that the road ahead would be challenging. There were hurts to heal, trusts to rebuild, and a relationship to redefine. But in that moment, with the woman he loved back in his arms, Gordon felt a spark of hope ignite in his heart. They pulled apart slightly, their eyes meeting once again. Ashley opened her mouth to speak, but Gordon gently placed a finger on her lips. "We have a lot to talk about," he said softly, "and we will. But for now, welcome home, Ash." Ashley nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. As Gordon led her into the house, closing the door behind them, they both knew that this was more than just a homecoming. It was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild what they had lost, and to create something even stronger. The Phoenix night settled around their home, the stars twinkling overhead like silent witnesses to this pivotal moment. Inside, Gordon and Ashley began the delicate, challenging, but ultimately hopeful process of finding their way back to each other. As they sat on the couch, hands intertwined, the air heavy with unspoken words and emotions, they both realized that their journey was far from over. In fact, in many ways, it was just beginning. The true test of their love, their commitment, and their ability to forgive and grow together lay ahead. But for now, in the quiet of their home, surrounded by the memories they had built and the future they hoped to create, Gordon and Ashley allowed themselves to simply be together. The road ahead would be long and challenging, but they were ready to face it, together. The story of Gordon and Ashley, of love lost and found, of mistakes made and lessons learned, was far from over. But as the night deepened around them, one thing was clear. Their tale of redemption, forgiveness, and the enduring power of true love was only just beginning. The Arizona sun crept over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Gordon Matthews stood on his back porch, a steaming cup of coffee in hand, watching as the new day dawned. It had been 3 months since Ashley's return, and each day brought its own set of challenges and small victories. He took a sip of coffee, savoring the bitter warmth as he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. The past few months had been a roller coaster of emotions, hope and doubt, love and anger, forgiveness and lingering resentment. But through it all, Gordon had discovered a strength within himself that he never knew existed. Inside the house, he could hear Ashley stirring. Their relationship was a work in progress, delicate and uncertain. They had agreed to take things slow, to rebuild their foundation brick by brick. Ashley had moved into the guest room, a physical representation of the emotional distance they were working to bridge. As Gordon turned to head back inside, his phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Larson, his therapist. "Don't forget our session today at 2 p.m. Looking forward to hearing about your progress." Gordon smiled slightly. If someone had told him a year ago that he'd be seeing a therapist regularly, he would have laughed. But now, those sessions had become a lifeline, helping him navigate the complex emotions that came with rebuilding a broken relationship. In the kitchen, Ashley was pouring herself a cup of coffee. She looked up as Gordon entered, offering a tentative smile. "Morning?" she said softly. "Morning," Gordon replied, his voice warm but guarded. This dance of politeness and caution had become their new normal. "Sleep well?" Ashley nodded, her eyes flickering to the calendar on the fridge where a date was circled in red. It was her first day back at her old job, a far cry from the high-powered position she'd held in New York, but a necessary step in rebuilding her life in Phoenix. "Nervous about today?" Gordon asked, noticing her gaze. Ashley sighed, running a hand through her hair. "A little," she admitted. "It's going to be strange. Seeing everyone again, explaining why I'm back." Gordon felt a familiar twinge in his chest, a mixture of sympathy and lingering hurt. "You'll be fine," he said, his tone reassuring despite himself. "They're lucky to have you back." Ashley's eyes met his, gratitude shining in them. These small moments of support meant everything as they navigated their new reality. As Ashley left for work, Gordon found himself alone in the house that had once felt suffocatingly empty. Now it was a space of healing, of rediscovery. He made his way to the spare room he had converted into a home office, settling in for a day of work. But before diving into his tasks, Gordon opened a document on his computer, his journal. Dr. Larson had suggested he start writing as a way to process his emotions, and to his surprise, Gordon had found it incredibly therapeutic. He began to type, "Day 92 since Ashley's return. Sometimes it feels like we're making progress, rebuilding what we lost. Other times, the weight of what happened threatens to crush us both. I love her. I never stopped loving her. But can love be enough to overcome betrayal? To rebuild trust? These are the questions I grapple with daily. Today I'm choosing to focus on gratitude. I'm grateful for the strength I've found within myself, for the friends who stood by me in my darkest moments, for the opportunity to rebuild, not just my relationship with Ashley, but my relationship with myself. I'm not the same man I was before she left. In many ways, I'm stronger, more self-aware. I've discovered passions I never knew I had, hiking the beautiful trails around Phoenix, volunteering at the local animal shelter, even trying my hand at painting, though I'm still terrible at it. But there's still so much uncertainty. Can Ashley and I find our way back to each other? Or are we just delaying the inevitable, clinging to a past that no longer exists? Only time will tell. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, one moment at a time. And in this moment, I choose hope. Gordon closed the document, feeling a sense of clarity wash over him. He turned to his work tasks, ready to face the day ahead. Meanwhile, across town, Ashley sat in her car in the parking lot of her old office building. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as she tried to summon the courage to go inside. The familiar logo on the building seemed to mock her, a reminder of the life she had so carelessly tossed aside. Taking a deep breath, Ashley stepped out of the car. As she walked towards the entrance, she caught her reflection in the glass doors. Gone were the designer clothes and perfectly styled hair of her New York days. Instead, she saw a woman dressed simply but professionally, her face free of the heavy makeup she had worn like armor in the big city. "Ashley? Oh my God, it is you!" The voice belonged to Sarah, her old colleague and friend. Before Ashley could respond, she found herself enveloped in a warm hug. "We've missed you around here," Sarah said, pulling back to look at Ashley. "How are you? How was New York?" Ashley felt a lump form in her throat. How could she possibly explain everything that had happened? The excitement, the disillusionment, the painful journey back to herself. "It was an experience," Ashley said finally, managing a small smile. "But I'm glad to be home." As they walked into the building together, Ashley braced herself for the questions, the curious glances, the whispered conversations that would inevitably follow her return. But she was determined to face it all head-on. This was part of her journey of redemption, of rebuilding the life she had nearly destroyed. Throughout the day, Ashley found herself alternating between moments of normalcy, the familiar rhythm of work, the easy banter with colleagues, and moments of acute awareness of how much had changed. Every time someone asked about New York or her glamorous life there, she felt a pang of regret and shame. During her lunch break, Ashley found a quiet corner in the break room and pulled out her phone. Her finger hovered over Gavin's contact information. She hadn't spoken to him since that night in New York, when she had made the decision to return home. Part of her was curious. Had he moved on? Was he still angry? Did he ever think of her? But another part, the part that was working so hard to rebuild her life and her relationship with Gordon, knew that reaching out to Gavin would be a mistake. With a decisive swipe, she deleted his contact information. It was a small act, but it felt significant. Another step towards leaving that chapter of her life behind. As Ashley put her phone away, Sarah joined her at the table. "So," Sarah said, her voice low and conspiratorial, "are you and Gordon?" Ashley sighed, knowing this question was inevitable. "We're working on things," she said carefully. "It's complicated." Sarah nodded sympathetically. "I can imagine. But for what it's worth, I always thought you two were meant to be together. The way Gordon looks at you, that's not something you find every day." Ashley felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I just hope I haven't ruined it for good." Sarah reached out, squeezing Ashley's hand. "Hey, the fact that you're both trying says a lot. Just take it one day at a time, okay?" Ashley nodded, grateful for her friend's support. As she returned to her desk, she felt a renewed sense of determination. She had made mistakes, huge ones, but she was committed to making things right. As the day wore on, Ashley found herself thinking more and more about Gordon. She wondered what he was doing, how he was feeling. The distance between them, though necessary, felt almost physical at times. She longed for the easy intimacy they once shared, the ability to read each other's moods and thoughts without a word. When 5 p.m. finally rolled around, Ashley felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. She was eager to get home to see Gordon, but also nervous about navigating another evening of careful conversation and unspoken tensions. As she drove home, Ashley's mind wandered to her time in New York. The memory of Gavin, once so vivid and exciting, now felt like a distant dream, or perhaps a nightmare. She thought about the person she had become in those months away, the late nights, the drinking, the constant pursuit of the next thrill. It all seemed so hollow now. She pulled into the driveway, noticing that Gordon's car was already there. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car and made her way to the front door. Inside, she found Gordon in the kitchen, stirring something that smelled delicious on the stove. He looked up as she entered, a small smile playing on his lips. "Hey," he said softly. "How was your first day back?" Ashley felt a rush of emotion, gratitude, love, and a deep, aching regret for ever having left this man. "It was intense," she replied honestly, "but good, really good." Gordon nodded, turning back to the stove. "I made your favorite, chicken parmesan. Thought you might need some comfort food after a big day." The gesture, so simple yet so thoughtful, brought tears to Ashley's eyes. "Gordon," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I thank you for everything, for giving me another chance. I know I don't deserve it." Gordon turned to face her, his expression serious. "Ash," he said softly, "we both deserve a chance at happiness. Whether that's together or not, we're still figuring out. But I'm willing to try if you are." Ashley nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. In that moment, she wanted nothing more than to cross the kitchen and throw herself into Gordon's arms, but she held back, respecting the boundaries they had set. As they sat down to dinner, the conversation flowed more easily than it had in weeks. Ashley shared stories from her day, and Gordon talked about a new project he was excited about at work. For a brief time, it almost felt like old times. But as the evening wore on, the underlying tension returned. There were still so many things left unsaid, so many hurts to heal. As Ashley got ready for bed in the guest room, she found herself longing for the comfort of their shared bedroom, for the warmth of Gordon's embrace. Meanwhile, Gordon lay awake in their bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about the progress they had made, but also about the long road still ahead. Could they ever truly move past what had happened? Could he ever fully trust Ashley again? As the night deepened, both Gordon and Ashley drifted off to sleep, their dreams filled with memories of happier times and hopes for a future they weren't sure they could reclaim. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Ashley threw herself into her work, determined to prove herself not just to her colleagues but to herself. She volunteered for extra projects, stayed late at the office, and slowly began to rebuild her professional reputation. Gordon, too, found himself busier than ever. In addition to his regular job, he had started taking evening classes in photography, a hobby he had always been interested in but had never pursued. He found solace behind the lens, capturing the beauty of the Arizona landscape and the quiet moments of everyday life. Their evenings together were a delicate dance of careful conversations and tentative steps towards reconciliation. Some nights were filled with laughter as they rediscovered the easy companionship they once shared. Other nights were tense, the weight of unresolved issues hanging heavy between them. One Saturday morning, as Gordon was preparing to head out for a photography class, Ashley approached him hesitantly. "Gordon," she said, her voice soft, "I was wondering, would it be okay if I joined you today? I'd love to see what you've been working on." Gordon felt a flutter of surprise and warmth in his chest. This was the first time Ashley had shown interest in his new hobby. "Sure," he said, trying to keep his tone casual. "I'd like that." As they drove to the class together, Gordon found himself stealing glances at Ashley. She looked different today, more relaxed, more like the woman he had fallen in love with all those years ago. For a moment, he allowed himself to hope that maybe, just maybe, they were turning a corner. The photography class was held in a beautiful outdoor setting, the rugged Arizona landscape providing a stunning backdrop. As the instructor led them through various techniques, Gordon couldn't help but notice how Ashley's eyes lit up with genuine interest. During a break, as they wandered through a field of wildflowers, Ashley turned to Gordon. "Thank you for sharing this with me," she said softly. "I can see why you love it so much. The way you capture the light, the details. It's beautiful, Gordon." Gordon felt a warmth spread through his chest at her words. "Thanks, Ash," he said, his voice rough with emotion. It's nice to have you here." As Ashley raised her own camera, attempting to capture a particularly vibrant flower, Gordon found himself raising his camera as well. But instead of the flower, his lens was focused on Ashley, her brow furrowed in concentration, a small smile playing on her lips, the Arizona sun casting a warm glow on her skin. Click. The shutter captured the moment, preserving it forever. That evening, as they looked through the photos they had taken, Gordon hesitated before showing Ashley the one he had taken of her. When he finally did, he watched her face carefully, unsure of how she would react. Ashley stared at the image for a long moment, her eyes filling with tears. Is this how you see me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Gordon nodded, unable to find the words to express what he felt when he looked at that photo. The love that had never died, the hope for a future together, the beauty he still saw in her, despite everything they had been through. Ashley looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Gordon, she began, but the words seemed to catch in her throat. For a moment they stood there, the photo between them, years of history and hurt and love swirling in the air. Then slowly, hesitantly, Ashley reached out and took Gordon's hand in hers. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental. As their fingers intertwined, both felt a spark of the connection they had feared was lost forever. But even as they reveled in this moment of closeness, a shadow loomed on the horizon. Unbeknownst to Gordon and Ashley, events were unfolding that would soon test their fragile reconciliation in ways they could never have imagined. In New York, Gavin sat in his sleek Manhattan apartment, a glass of scotch in hand, staring at his phone. On the screen was an email from his company's Phoenix office. They needed someone to oversee a major project, someone with his expertise. It would mean relocating to Phoenix for at least 6 months. A slow, calculating smile spread across Gavin's face. He hadn't forgotten about Ashley, about the way she had left him. And now, fate was handing him an opportunity for, what? Revenge? Reconciliation? He wasn't sure yet, but one thing was certain. He wasn't done with Ashley Matthews. As Gavin began to type his response, accepting the assignment, the wheels of fate began to turn. Back in Phoenix, Blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon, Gordon and Ashley continued their tentative dance of reconciliation, each small step forward feeling like a victory. But the true test of their love, their commitment, and their ability to overcome the past was yet to come. The arrival of Gavin in Phoenix would shake the foundations of their rebuilt relationship, forcing them to confront not just their past, but their hopes and fears for the future. As the Arizona sun set on another day, casting long shadows across the landscape, Gordon and Ashley stood on the precipice of a new chapter in their story. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, unexpected twists, and moments of heartbreaking clarity. But for now, in this moment, with their hands intertwined and the memory of a perfect day fresh in their minds, they allowed themselves to hope. Little did they know that their greatest test was just beginning. The Arizona summer had reached its peak, the sweltering heat shimmering off the pavement in waves. In a sleek, air-conditioned office building in downtown Phoenix, Ashley Matthews sat at her desk, poring over a stack of reports. She had thrown herself into her work over the past few months, finding solace in the familiar routine and the sense of accomplishment that came with each successful project. As she reached for her coffee mug, her eyes fell on the framed photo on her desk, a snapshot from that day at the photography class with Gordon. His camera had captured her in a moment of pure, uninhibited joy, her face lit up with a smile that reached her eyes. It was a reminder of how far they had come, and how far they still had to go. A knock on her office door jolted Ashley from her reverie. "Come in," she called, quickly composing herself. The door opened to reveal her boss, Mr. Daniels. "Ashley, got a minute? There's someone I'd like you to meet." Ashley nodded, rising from her chair. As she followed Mr. Daniels out into the hallway, she noticed a tall, well-dressed man standing by the reception desk. Something about his posture, the confident set of his shoulders, seemed vaguely familiar. "Ashley, I'd like you to meet Gavin Prescott," Mr. Daniels said, gesturing to the man. "He's here from our New York office to oversee the Meridian project." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as the man turned, revealing a face Ashley had hoped never to see again. Gavin's piercing blue eyes met hers, a slow, predatory smile spreading across his face. "Hello, Ashley," Gavin said smoothly. "It's been a while." Ashley felt as if all the air had been sucked out of the room. Her mind raced, trying to process this unexpected turn of events. What was Gavin doing here? How long would he be staying? And most importantly, how would this affect the delicate balance she and Gordon had been working so hard to maintain? "You two know each other?" Mr. Daniels asked, looking between them curiously. Ashley opened her mouth to respond, but Gavin beat her to it. "Oh yes," he said, his tone casual but his eyes never leaving Ashley's face. "Ashley and I worked closely together during her time in New York. It's a pleasant surprise to find her here." The rest of the introduction passed in a blur for Ashley. She nodded and smiled at the appropriate moments, all the while feeling as if she was standing on the edge of a precipice. As soon as she could politely excuse herself, she retreated to the sanctuary of her office, her hands shaking as she closed the door behind her. Leaning against the door, Ashley took deep, steadying breaths. This couldn't be happening. Just when things were starting to improve with Gordon, just when she was beginning to believe they might have a future together, Gavin had appeared like a specter from her past. Her phone buzzed with a text from Gordon. "Hope you're having a good day. Looking forward to our dinner tonight." Ashley felt a wave of guilt wash over her. She and Gordon had plans to try a new restaurant in town, a small step in their journey of reconnection. How could she face him now, with the knowledge that Gavin was back in her life? As the day wore on, Ashley found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on her work. Every time she stepped out of her office, she found herself scanning the hallways, half expecting to see Gavin's tall figure. The memories of their time together in New York, once faded and distant, now came rushing back with startling clarity. By the time 5 p.m. rolled around, Ashley was a bundle of nerves. She gathered her things quickly, hoping to make a swift exit. But as she approached the elevator, a familiar voice called out behind her. "Leaving so soon, Ash? I was hoping we could catch up." Ashley turned to find Gavin leaning against the wall, his posture casual, but his eyes intense. "I have plans," she said stiffly, pressing the elevator button repeatedly as if it would make it arrive faster. Gavin chuckled, the sound sending an involuntary shiver down Ashley's spine. "Come on, Ash. One drink for old time's sake. I promise I won't bite." The elevator doors opened and Ashley stepped inside, grateful for the momentary reprieve. "I can't, Gavin. I'm meeting someone." As the doors began to close, Gavin's hand shot out, holding them open. He leaned in, his voice low. "Gordon, I assume. Tell me, Ash, does he know about us? About what we had in New York?" Ashley felt her heart rate spike. "There is no us, Gavin. There never really was. Now please, I have to go." Gavin stepped back, allowing the doors to close, but not before giving Ashley a look that made it clear this conversation was far from over. As Ashley drove to the restaurant, her mind was in turmoil. Should she tell Gordon about Gavin's arrival? Would it only serve to dredge up painful memories and set back the progress they had made? By the time she pulled into the parking lot, she had decided to keep this information to herself, at least for now. There was no need to burden Gordon with this unless it became absolutely necessary. Gordon was already seated at a table when Ashley arrived. He stood as she approached, a warm smile on his face. "Hey, you made it," he said, pulling out her chair. Ashley felt a rush of affection for this man who had stood by her through so much. "Sorry I'm a little late," she said, settling into her seat. "Work was hectic today." As they perused the menu and placed their orders, Ashley found herself relaxing, drawn into the easy conversation that had always been a hallmark of their relationship. Gordon told her about a new photography project he was working on, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm as he described his ideas. For a moment, Ashley allowed herself to forget about Gavin, about the complications his presence would bring. Here, in this moment with Gordon, everything felt right. But as the evening wore on, Ashley found her mind wandering back to the events of the day. She became distracted, her responses to Gordon's questions becoming more and more vague. "Ash, is everything okay?" Gordon asked, concern evident in his voice. "You seem a million miles away." Ashley forced a smile, reaching across the table to take Gordon's hand. "I'm fine, really. Just tired, I guess. It's been a long week." Gordon nodded, but Ashley could see the doubt in his eyes. They had worked so hard on rebuilding trust, on being open and honest with each other. She knew her evasiveness now was a step backward, but she couldn't bring herself to shatter the peace of the evening with the news of Gavin's return. As they left the restaurant, walking hand in hand to their cars, Ashley felt a pang of guilt. She should tell Gordon, he deserved to know. But as she opened her mouth to speak, Gordon leaned in and placed a soft kiss on her cheek. "Thank you for tonight," he said softly. "I've missed this. Us." The words died in Ashley's throat. She couldn't do it. Not now. Not when things were finally starting to feel normal again. "Me too," she whispered, squeezing his hand. As she drove home, Ashley's mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She loved Gordon. She was sure of that now. Their time apart had only served to reinforce how much he meant to her. But Gavin's sudden reappearance had awakened something in her. Not desire exactly, but a restlessness, a reminder of the excitement and unpredictability that had drawn her to him in the first place. The next few weeks were a delicate balancing act for Ashley. At work, she did her best to avoid Gavin, but the nature of the Meridian project meant they were often thrown together in meetings and strategy sessions. Gavin, for his part, seemed to take a perverse pleasure in pushing the boundaries of professionalism, finding excuses to touch her arm or lean in close to whisper a comment. Each encounter left Ashley feeling off balance and guilty. She found herself withdrawing from Gordon, afraid that somehow he would sense the turmoil inside her. Their evenings together became quieter, the silences stretching longer. One night, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Gordon turned to Ashley with a serious expression. "Ash, what's going on? And don't say nothing. I know you better than that." Ashley felt her heart race. This was her chance to come clean, to tell Gordon everything about Gavin's return, and the confusion it had stirred up in her. But as she looked into Gordon's eyes, seeing the love and concern there, she found she couldn't do it. "It's just work stress," she said, hating herself for the lie. "This new project is really demanding." Gordon nodded slowly, but Ashley could see he wasn't entirely convinced. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right? Whatever it is, we can face it together." Ashley felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. As Gordon pulled her into a comforting embrace, she felt like the worst person in the world. The situation came to a head a few weeks later. Ashley was working late, trying to finalize a presentation for the Meridian project. The office was mostly empty, the silence broken only by the hum of her computer and the occasional distant sound of the cleaning staff. She was so engrossed in her work that she didn't hear the footsteps approaching her office. It wasn't until a shadow fell across her desk that she looked up, startled to find Gavin standing in her doorway. "Burning the midnight oil, I see," he said, his voice low and smooth. "Some things never change." Ashley felt her body tense. "What are you doing here, Gavin?" He stepped into the office, closing the door behind him. "I saw your light on. Thought you might want some company." As he moved closer, Ashley could smell the faint scent of alcohol on his breath. "You've been drinking," she said, rising from her chair and putting the desk between them. Gavin shrugged, a lazy smile spreading across his face. "Just a couple of drinks to unwind. Come on, Ash, remember how much fun we used to have? Late nights at the office, a bottle of wine." "That was a different time," Ashley said firmly. "A different me." Gavin's smile faded, replaced by a look of intensity that made Ashley's heart race. "Is it? Are you really happy playing house with Gordon? Don't you miss the excitement, the passion?" He moved around the desk, closing the distance between them. Ashley found herself backed against the wall, Gavin's tall frame looming over her. "Gavin, stop," she said, her voice shaking. "This isn't right." But Gavin wasn't listening. He leaned in, his lips brushing against her ear as he whispered, "Tell me you don't feel it too, Ash. The chemistry between us. It's still there." For a split second, Ashley felt a flicker of the old attraction, the thrill that had once drawn her to Gavin, but it was quickly overshadowed by a wave of revulsion. At Gavin, at herself, at the entire situation. With a surge of strength, she pushed him away. "No, Gavin. Whatever we had, it's over. I love Gordon. I choose him." Gavin stumbled back, surprise and anger warring on his face. "You can't be serious. You're choosing that boring, predictable life over what we could have." Ashley felt a clarity she hadn't experienced in weeks. "Yes, I am, because that boring, predictable life is real. It's built on love, trust, and mutual respect. What we had, it was just an illusion." Gavin's face darkened. "You'll regret this, Ashley. When you're old and grey, wondering what could have been, you'll remember this moment." As he stormed out of her office, slamming the door behind him, Ashley felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had finally faced her demons, had looked the temptation of her past in the eye, and chosen the future she truly wanted. With shaking hands, she gathered her things and left the office. She needed to see Gordon. Now. She needed to tell him everything, to beg his forgiveness for her deception, and to reaffirm her commitment to their relationship. As she drove through the quiet Phoenix streets, Ashley rehearsed what she would say. She would lay everything bare, Gavin's return, her momentary confusion, and the ultimate realization that Gordon was the only man she wanted to build a life with. But when she pulled up to their house, she was surprised to see lights on and an unfamiliar car in the driveway. Curious and a little apprehensive, she made her way to the front door. The sound of laughter greeted her as she entered, Gordon's familiar chuckle and a woman's voice she didn't recognize. Following the sound, she found herself at the entrance to the living room, the scene before her stopping her in her tracks. Gordon sat on the couch, a photo album open on his lap. Beside him, leaning in close, was a beautiful woman with long, dark hair. They were looking at the photos together, heads bent close, completely absorbed in conversation. "Oh, Ashley." Gordon looked up, surprise evident on his face. "You're home early. I thought you had a late meeting." Ashley stood frozen, unable to process what she was seeing. The meeting ended early," she managed to say, her voice sounding distant to her own ears. Gordon stood, gesturing to the woman beside him. "Ash, this is Eleanor. She's a curator at the Phoenix Art Museum. We met at my photography class, and she's been helping me put together a portfolio for an upcoming exhibition." Elena stood, offering Ashley a warm smile. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Ashley. Gordon's told me so much about you." Ashley nodded mechanically, her mind reeling. How long had this been going on? How many other nights had Elena been here while she worked late? "I should go," Elena said, sensing the tension in the room. "Gordon, we can finish looking at these another time. Ashley, it was lovely to meet you." As Elena gathered her things and said her goodbyes, Ashley felt as if she was watching the scene from outside her body. When the front door closed behind Elena, the silence in the house was deafening. Gordon turned to Ashley, his expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "Ash? What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." The events of the evening, Gavin's advances, her realization about her feelings for Gordon, And now this unexpected scene came crashing down on Ashley. She felt her knees buckle, and she sank onto the couch, tears beginning to stream down her face. "Ashley!" Gordon was at her side in an instant, his arm around her shoulders. "Talk to me. What happened?" Through her tears, Ashley began to speak. The words poured out of her. Gavin's return, her confusion, her fear of losing Gordon, and finally, her realization that he was the one she truly wanted. Gordon listened in stunned silence, his arm never leaving her shoulders. When she finally finished, hiccuping sobs replacing her words, he spoke softly. "Oh, Ash, why didn't you tell me about Gavin sooner?" Ashley looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. "I was afraid it would ruin everything we've been working towards. And then tonight, I finally stood up to him, finally chose you completely, and I come home to find... She couldn't finish the sentence, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. Gordon's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Ashley, no, Elena is just a friend, a professional contact. There's nothing going on between us. But the way you were sitting, the laughter, the photos..." Ashley's voice trailed off. Gordon shook his head, a sad smile on his face. "The photos were of landscapes, Ash, for my exhibition. Elena was helping me choose which ones to submit, that's all." Ashley felt a wave of shame wash over her. She had jumped to conclusions, let her own guilt color her perception of the situation. "I'm so sorry, Gordon, for everything, for not telling you about Gavin, for doubting you." Gordon was quiet for a long moment, his hand absently rubbing circles on Ashley's back. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with emotion. "I won't lie, Ash. It hurts that you didn't trust me enough to tell me about Gavin, that you've been carrying this alone for weeks. We promised each other honesty, remember?" Ashley nodded, feeling the full weight of her actions. "I know. I messed up. Again." Gordon sighed deeply. "But," he continued, "I understand why you did it. And the fact that you came here tonight, ready to tell me everything, that means something." He turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. "Ashley, I love you. I've never stopped loving you, even when things were at their worst. But for this to work, for us to have a real future together, we need to be completely open with each other. No more secrets, no more holding back out of fear. Can you promise me that?" Ashley looked into Gordon's eyes, seeing the love, the hurt, and the hope all mingled together. She took a deep breath, squeezing his hands tightly. "I promise, Gordon, no more secrets, no more holding back. I want us to work. I want a future with you more than anything." Gordon nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Okay, then let's start fresh, right here, right now. Tell me everything about Gavin, about New York, about what you've been feeling these past few weeks. I want to understand." And so, as the night deepened around them, Ashley and Gordon talked, really talked, for the first time in months. Ashley shared her experiences in New York, the initial excitement that had quickly faded into disillusionment. She spoke of Gavin's charm and how it had blinded her to his less savory qualities. She described the moment she realized she had made a terrible mistake and the fear and shame that had driven her back to Phoenix. Gordon listened intently, asking questions, offering comfort when Ashley's voice broke with emotion. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows, they were still talking, laying bare all the hurts, fears, and hopes that had defined their relationship. "I think," Gordon said slowly as they watched the sun rise together, "that we've been given a second chance and I don't want to waste it." Ashley leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling lighter than she had in months. "Neither do I," she whispered. But just as it seemed that Ashley and Gordon had finally found their way back to each other, fate had one more twist in store. The next morning, as Ashley prepared to leave for work, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Civic Space Park at noon. Come alone. It's about Gavin, Elena." Ashley felt her heart race. What could Elena possibly have to say about Gavin, and why the secrecy? As the appointed time approached, Ashley found herself pacing nervously near the park's iconic sculpture. She spotted Elena approaching, her face serious. "Thank you for coming," Elena said, her voice low. "I have something you need to see." She pulled out her phone, showing Ashley a series of photos. Ashley's blood ran cold as she recognized Gavin in various compromising positions with different women, all clearly taken without his knowledge. "Gavin's been playing a dangerous game," Elena explained. "He's been using his position to manipulate and exploit women in the company. I'm part of an internal investigation team. We've been building a case against him for months. Ashley felt as if the ground was shifting beneath her feet. But, why are you telling me this? Elena's expression softened. Because you're one of his victims, Ashley, and because I care about Gordon. He's a good man, and he deserves to know the whole truth. As Elena continued to explain the extent of Gavin's misdeeds, Ashley felt a mix of emotions wash over her. Relief that she had escaped his influence, anger at his betrayal, and a renewed appreciation for the honest, loving relationship she had with Gordon. But before Ashley could fully process this revelation, a commotion near the park entrance caught their attention. To her horror, she saw Gavin striding towards them, his face contorted with rage. "You think you can ruin me?" he shouted, his eyes wild. "I'll destroy you both." As Gavin reached for something in his jacket, time seemed to slow down. Ashley's mind raced, realizing with terrifying clarity that Gavin was far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. In that moment, faced with the man who had nearly destroyed her life and now threatened her future, Ashley made a split-second decision that would change everything. The Phoenix sun beat down mercilessly on Civic Space Park, its harsh light illuminating a scene of chaos. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Ashley Matthews stood rooted to the spot, her body trembling as the adrenaline that had coursed through her veins just moments ago began to ebb away. Beside her, Eleanor was on the phone, her voice steady as she spoke to the emergency dispatcher. And there, sprawled on the ground just a few feet away, lay Gavin Prescott, his face contorted in pain, a growing red stain spreading across his expensive shirt. Ashley's mind raced, replaying the events of the past few minutes in a dizzying loop. Gavin's enraged approach, his hand reaching into his jacket, the glint of metal as he pulled out what she had thought was a gun, her instinctive reaction, grabbing the nearest object, a heavy stone sculpture from a nearby art installation, and swinging it with all her might. The sickening thud as it connected with Gavin's chest, the look of shock and pain on his face as he crumpled to the ground. It had all happened so fast, yet each moment was etched into Ashley's memory with crystal clarity. As the first police car screeched to a halt at the park's entrance, Ashley felt a wave of nausea wash over her. What had she done? In her panic, had she fatally injured the man who had once meant so much to her? The next few hours passed in a blur of police statements, paramedic assessments, and hushed conversations with Elena. Gavin, it turned out, had not been carrying a gun but a flash drive, containing, as they would later learn, incriminating evidence he had planned to use against Elena and the investigation team. He was rushed to the hospital with several broken ribs and internal bleeding. Ashley was taken to the police station, where she spent hours recounting her story to stern-faced detectives. It was only when Gordon arrived, his face etched with worry, that Ashley finally broke down, the full weight of the day's events crashing down upon her. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed into Gordon's chest as he held her tightly. "I never meant for any of this to happen." Gordon stroked her hair gently, his voice low and soothing. "It's okay, Ash. You're safe now. That's all that matters." But as they left the police station late that night, both knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The fragile peace they had been rebuilding had been shattered, replaced by a new reality fraught with legal uncertainties and emotional turmoil. In the days that followed, Ashley's world seemed to shrink to the confines of their home. She took a leave of absence from work, unable to face the whispers and stares that she knew would greet her. Gordon did his best to shield her from the media frenzy that had erupted around the incident, but snippets of news reports still reached her ears. Workplace romance gone wrong, tech executive assaulted by former lover, corporate espionage takes violent turn. Each headline was a fresh wound, a reminder of how far she had strayed from the life she had once envisioned for herself. Nights were the worst. Ashley would lie awake for hours, replaying every decision that had led her to this point. The move to New York, the affair with Gavin, the return to Phoenix. Each choice now seemed to have been a step towards this inevitable conclusion. Gordon, for his part, was a pillar of strength and support. He fielded calls from lawyers, spoke with Ashley's employers, and kept their friends and family updated. But even as he worked tirelessly to protect Ashley, a small part of him couldn't help but wonder, would their relationship ever truly recover from this latest blow? 2 weeks after the incident, as they sat together on the couch, the TV muted to yet another news report about the case, Gordon finally voiced the question that had been weighing on both their minds. "Ash," he said softly, taking her hand in his. "Where do we go from here?" Ashley looked at him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I don't know, Gordon. I've made such a mess of everything. Maybe you'd be better off without me." Gordon's grip on her hand tightened. "Don't say that. We've been through too much to give up now." But even as he spoke the words, Gordon felt a flicker of doubt. Could they really move past this? Could he spend the rest of his life with a woman whose past decisions had led to such devastating consequences? As the legal proceedings against Gavin unfolded, more details of his misdeeds came to light. The flash drive he had been carrying contained evidence not just of his corporate espionage, but of a pattern of harassment and manipulation stretching back years. Women from various companies came forward with their stories, painting a picture of a predator who had used his charm and position to exploit those around him. Ashley watched these revelations with a mixture of horror and relief. Horror at the true extent of Gavin's actions, and relief that she had escaped his influence before it was too late. But with that relief came a crushing sense of guilt. How could she have been so blind? How could she have risked her life with Gordon for someone like Gavin? One particularly difficult day, after a grueling session with her lawyer, Ashley found herself driving aimlessly through the streets of Phoenix. Without realizing it, she ended up at the Desert Botanical Garden, the place where months ago she had first agreed to meet Gavin for coffee after his arrival in Phoenix. As she wandered the winding paths, surrounded by the stark beauty of desert flora, Ashley felt the weight of her regrets pressing down upon her. She thought of the woman she had been before New York, content, loved, with a clear sense of who she was and what she wanted. How had she strayed so far from that person? Lost in her thoughts, Ashley didn't notice the familiar figure approaching until he was right in front of her. "Mike," she said, startled to see Gordon's best friend. Mike's expression was a mixture of concern and wariness. "Ashley, I thought I might find you here." They stood in awkward silence for a moment before Mike spoke again. "Gordon's worried about you. He said you've been distant lately." Ashley felt a pang of guilt. I don't know how to face him sometimes. After everything I've put him through." Mike sighed, gesturing to a nearby bench. As they sat down, he turned to face her. "Look, Ashley, I'm not going to pretend I understand everything that's happened, but I do know this. Gordon loves you. He's never stopped loving you, even when things were at their worst." Tears sprang to Ashley's eyes. "I don't deserve him," she whispered. Mike was quiet for a moment, his gaze fixed on the distant mountains. "Maybe not," he said finally. "But that's not for you to decide. Gordon's chosen to stand by you. The question is, are you going to stand by him?" As Ashley left the garden that evening, Mike's words echoed in her mind. She had been so focused on her own guilt and regret that she had been pushing Gordon away, the very person who had been her rock through this entire ordeal. Driving home, Ashley made a decision. It was time to stop wallowing in self-pity and start fighting for the life and the love she wanted. When she arrived home, she found Gordon in his makeshift darkroom, developing photos from his latest project. As she watched him work, his face etched in concentration, Ashley felt a surge of love and gratitude. "Gordon," she said softly, causing him to look up in surprise, "I think it's time we talked, really talked." Over the next few hours, huddled together on their living room couch, Ashley and Gordon had the most honest conversation of their relationship. Ashley laid bare all her fears, her regrets and her hopes for their future. Gordon, in turn, shared his own struggles, the hurt he still carried from her affair, his fears about their future, but also his unwavering love for her. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows, they had reached a new understanding. Their relationship would never be the same as it was before. Too much had happened. Too many wounds had been inflicted. But perhaps, they agreed, they could build something new, something stronger, forged in the fires of their shared trials. "I can't promise it will be easy," Gordon said, his voice rough with emotion. "But I want to try. I want us to try." Ashley nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Me too," she whispered. "More than anything." In the weeks that followed, Ashley and Gordon worked hard to rebuild their life together. They attended couples therapy, learning new ways to communicate and support each other. Ashley threw herself into community service, finding a sense of purpose in helping others who had been victims of manipulation and abuse. Slowly but surely, they began to find their footing in this new reality. There were still difficult days, Days when the weight of the past seemed overwhelming, when doubts crept in and old hurts resurfaced. But there were also moments of joy, of rediscovered intimacy, of shared laughter that felt like a balm to their wounded souls. As summer turned to fall, the legal proceedings against Gavin finally came to a close. He pleaded guilty to multiple charges of corporate espionage and harassment, accepting a plea deal that would see him serve several years in prison. The news brought a sense of closure to Ashley, but also a lingering sadness for the man she had once thought she loved. On the day of Gavin's sentencing, Ashley and Gordon stood outside the courthouse hand in hand. As they watched Gavin being led away in handcuffs, Ashley felt a chapter of her life truly closing. "Are you okay?" Gordon asked softly, squeezing her hand. Ashley took a deep breath, looking up at the man who had stood by her through it all. "I am," she said, and for the first time in months, she truly meant it. As they walked away from the courthouse, Ashley felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The road ahead would not be easy. There were still challenges to face, trust to rebuild, and a lifetime of choices to make. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hope for the future. That evening, as they sat on their back porch watching the sunset paint the Arizona sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, Gordon turned to Ashley with a serious expression. "Ash," he said softly, "I've been thinking a lot about us, about our future." Ashley felt her heart skip a beat. Despite the progress they had made, a part of her still feared that Gordon would realize he was better off without her. Gordon took a deep breath, reaching into his pocket. "I've been carrying this around for a long time," he said, pulling out a small velvet box. "I bought it before everything happened. I was going to give it to you on our anniversary." Ashley gasped as Gordon opened the box, revealing the diamond ring she had never seen. It was beautiful, not ostentatious, but elegant and timeless, just like their love. "I'm not asking you to marry me," Gordon continued, his voice thick with emotion. "At least not yet. We still have a lot of healing to do, a lot of trust to rebuild. But I want you to have this ring as a promise that I'm committed to us, to our future, whatever it may hold." Tears streamed down Ashley's face as she looked at the ring, then back at Gordon. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "After everything I've put you through?" Gordon smiled, a tender expression that made Ashley's heart ache with love. "I'm sure. You're it for me, Ash. Always have been, always will be." With trembling hands, Ashley allowed Gordon to slip the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if it had always been meant to be there. As they embraced, the last rays of the setting sun warming their faces, Ashley felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey ahead would not be easy, but they would face it together. In the months that followed, Ashley and Gordon continued to work on their relationship, taking things one day at a time. They rediscovered the joy in simple moments, cooking dinner together, taking long walks in the desert, laughing at inside jokes that only they understood. Ashley returned to work, facing the whispers and stares with a newfound strength. She threw herself into her projects, earning back the respect of her colleagues through sheer determination and hard work. Gordon's photography career began to take off, his unique perspective capturing the attention of galleries and collectors. He had his first solo exhibition, a series of photographs that chronicled their journey of love, loss, and redemption. The centerpiece was the photo he had taken of Ashley that day in the wildflower field, a moment of pure joy captured in time. As winter gave way to spring, Ashley and Gordon decided it was time for a fresh start. They put their house on the market, the memories it held, both good and bad, too overwhelming to allow them to truly move forward. They found a small house on the outskirts of Phoenix, with a view of the mountains and enough land for Gordon to build a proper studio. As they packed up their old life, sorting through years of accumulated memories, both felt a bittersweet mix of sadness and anticipation. On their last night in the old house, they sat on the back porch, much as they had done countless times before. The air was cool, the stars twinkling overhead in the vast Arizona sky. "Do you ever wonder," Ashley said softly, "what our lives would be like if I had never left, if I had never met Gavin?" Gordon was quiet for a moment, his arm tightening around her shoulders. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but then I think about who we are now, how much stronger we are because of everything we've been through, and I wouldn't change it." Ashley leaned into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Me neither," she whispered. As they sat there on the cusp of a new chapter in their lives, Both Ashley and Gordon felt a profound sense of gratitude. Their love had been tested, bent almost to the breaking point, but it had survived. More than survived. It had been forged into something stronger, deeper and more resilient than either of them could have imagined. The road ahead was still uncertain. There would be challenges to face, old wounds that might never fully heal. But they would face it all together, armed with the hard-won wisdom of their experiences and the unshakable knowledge of their love for each other. As the night deepened around them, Ashley and Gordon held each other close, their hearts beating in unison. They had weathered the storm, emerged battered but unbroken, and now stood on the threshold of a future full of possibility. In that moment, under the vast Arizona sky, they were exactly where they were meant to be, together, facing whatever life might bring, one day at a time. The end of their story was not a fairy tale happily ever after, nor was it a tragedy of love lost. Instead, it was something far more real and profound, a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the human capacity for growth and redemption. As Ashley and Gordon embarked on this new chapter of their lives, they carried with them the scars of their past, but also the hope for their future. Their love story, with all its twists and turns, heartaches and joys, stood as a reminder that true love is not about perfection or fairy tale endings. It's about choosing each other, every day, through the best and worst of times. It's about forgiveness, growth, and the courage to fight for what truly matters. And most of all, it's about the beautiful, messy, imperfect journey of two people who decide again and again that they are stronger together than apart. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Ashley and Gordon shared a tender kiss, sealing their commitment to this new beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them hand in hand, their love a beacon guiding them through the storms of life. And so their story continues, not with the end, but with the promise of new beginnings, new challenges, and new opportunities for love to prove its enduring strength. 5 years had passed since Ashley and Gordon had moved into their new home on the outskirts of Phoenix. The small house they had chosen as a fresh start had become a sanctuary filled with new memories and the promise of a shared future. On a warm autumn evening, the couple stood hand in hand in their backyard, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. The desert landscape stretched out before them, a testament to the beauty and resilience of life in even the harshest conditions. Gordon, now a respected photographer with several successful exhibitions under his belt, looked at Ashley with a mixture of love and wonder. The years had been kind to her, the lines around her eyes speaking not of hardship but of laughter and joy. "Can you believe it's been 5 years?" he said softly, squeezing her hand. Ashley smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday, and other times it feels like a lifetime ago." Their life together had found a rhythm, a balance that had seemed impossible in the tumultuous days following Gavin's arrest. Ashley had risen through the ranks at her company, her dedication and hard work earning her a position as vice president of marketing. Gordon's photography career had flourished, his unique perspective on the Arizona landscape earning him national recognition. But more importantly, their relationship had deepened, strengthened by the trials they had overcome together. The trust they had painstakingly rebuilt had become the foundation of a love more profound than either had thought possible. As they stood there enjoying the peaceful moment, the sound of laughter drifted from inside the house. Their friends and family had gathered to celebrate a milestone, the official adoption of Maria, a 10-year-old girl who had captured their hearts at a local foster care center where Ashley volunteered. The decision to adopt had not been an easy one. Both Ashley and Gordon had carried scars from their past, fears about their ability to be good parents. But as they had done so many times before, they faced their fears together, supporting each other through the long and often frustrating adoption process. "Should we head back inside?" Gordon asked, noticing Ashley's distracted expression. Ashley nodded, but held him back for a moment. "I was just thinking about everything we've been through, about Gavin." Gordon tensed slightly at the mention of the name, but his expression remained open, encouraging Ashley to continue. "I received a letter from him last week," Ashley admitted. "He's being released next month." Gordon's grip on her hand tightened. "How do you feel about that?" Ashley was quiet for a moment, her gaze fixed on the darkening horizon. "Honestly, I feel at peace. What happened with Gavin, it was a chapter in our lives. A painful, difficult chapter, but it's over now. We've written so many beautiful chapters since then. Gordon pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. We have, he agreed, and we have many more to write. As they turned to head back inside, Ashley paused, a mischievous glint in her eye. You know, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. Gordon raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. Oh? Ashley took a deep breath, her free hand moving to rest on her stomach. I wasn't sure how to say this, but, Gordon, I'm pregnant. The world seemed to stand still for a moment as Gordon processed her words. Then, with a whoop of joy, he lifted Ashley off her feet, spinning her around as she laughed. Are you sure? He asked, setting her down gently, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Ashley nodded, her own eyes misting over. I found out last week. I wanted to wait for the right moment to tell you. As they embraced, both overcome with emotion, the back door opened. Maria poked her head out, her dark curls framing a face filled with curiosity. Mum? Dad? Is everything okay? She asked, still getting used to the new titles. Ashley and Gordon exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. With a nod, Gordon extended his hand to Maria. Everything's perfect, sweetheart, he said. Come here. Your mom and I have some exciting news to share. As Maria joined them, Ashley felt a sense of completeness wash over her. This was her family. Not perfect, not without its challenges, but bound together by love, trust, and the shared experience of overcoming adversity. The three of them stood there, framed against the backdrop of the Arizona night, a tableau of hope and new beginnings. Ashley thought about the long and winding path that had led them to this moment, the mistakes, the heartaches, the moments of doubt and fear, but also the joy, the growth, and the unwavering love that had seen them through it all. As they turned to go back inside, to share their news with their waiting friends and family, Ashley caught sight of a shooting star streaking across the darkening sky. She closed her eyes for a moment, making a silent wish, not for herself, but for the child growing within her. She wished for resilience in the face of life's challenges, for the courage to love deeply despite the risk of heartbreak, and for the wisdom to learn from mistakes rather than be defined by them. But most of all, she wished for the ability to find beauty and hope in even the darkest of times. Opening her eyes, Ashley looked at Gordon and Maria, her heart full to bursting with love. Whatever the future held, joys or sorrows, triumphs or setbacks, she knew they would face it together as a family. As they stepped back into the warmth and light of their home, filled with the laughter and love of those closest to them, Ashley felt a profound sense of gratitude. Their story, her story, was far from over. In fact, in many ways, it felt like it was just beginning. The night deepened outside, the stars twinkling in the vast Arizona sky, and in a small house on the outskirts of Phoenix, a family celebrated new beginnings, the promise of the future, and the enduring power of love to heal, to transform, and to create something beautiful out of life's greatest challenges. Little did they know as they reveled in their moment of joy that life had one more unexpected twist in store, a twist that would test their newfound strength and unity in ways they could never have imagined. But that, as they say, is a story for another time. If this story touched you in any way and sparked your curiosity for emotional and inspiring narratives, don't stop here. Subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for new stories that might change the way you see life. Each video is an invitation to explore narratives that resonate with the heart. Speaking of which, why not click on the next video? I'm sure it will move you too. See you there.